Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie vlog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'm going to be covering another topic for my channel today, and that is going to be Alita Battle Angel avoids major write-down and could get a sequel. The media, the mainstream media is finally waking up to this fact. This is something that we've been saying for a while because we've been watching the numbers, because we knew what the actual break-even point was, and we also knew that this film was going to have a life after it left theaters on Blu-ray, 4K, DVD releases. What's interesting to me is that this person is writing almost every single thing verbatim that I said to try and break down this film. Talked about how much it needed to make, talked about how much it cost to make, how much all these other things meant, and also how much it likely will end up making in the long run. However, of course, they could not get away without mentioning another film to try and justify these numbers. So as you can see there, it says it could indeed get a sequel from a financial standpoint. I really do think, and I've said this from the very beginning, the only person, and I said this on live streams, the only person at this point who can decide whether or not we get a sequel or not is going to be James Cameron, since he is the one that owns the IP, since he is the one that is going to be the primary financer of the film itself, the primary producer of this film. That is the only thing that's going to possibly hold this film back, because financially speaking, this film is going to make its money back and also make profit on top of that. The question is he going to be willing, and also is he going to have time to actually put money and time behind this project? I really hope he does. I really hope that he realizes that this has a very passionate fan base. I really hope that when it actually finally gets a release date on DVD, 4K, Blu-ray, etc., that people show up for it, buy the pre-sales for it, buy everything that they possibly can, buy it for their friends, just to make it clear to them that this is a movie that we like. This is a movie that we want to see have a sequel. It's not very often that you have people want to see a sequel to a film, but when you have a film that sets up this brand new universe in such a way, and you also lead up to a sequel, and the sequel itself will complete the story, then it kind of leaves you in this position of you kind of have to at this point. But anyway, as it says here, as my esteemed colleague Scott Mendelson, the esteemed colleague Scott Mendelson, oh, Scotty boy, oh my goodness, your colleague, oh, he speaks so highly of you, and yet, oh my goodness, we all know the truth. Scott Mendelson noted in his write-up about Alita's box office fate, the film's foreign box office includes $132.6 million from China, of which the studio will only see approximately $35 million. That's because they normally get about 25% of the Chinese box office. From the rest of the international market and North America territories combined, Alita will hit around $170 million in revenue return to the studio, since most markets see a 50-50 split between the studios and theaters, while China only sends 25 to 30% back to the studios. However, what they failed to remember is that they get 90% or so. Studios tend to get 90% with the opening weekend, which is where they make most of their money, and so it's actually closer to the 60% mark. But let's assume 50 to 60% overall is what they're going to receive back. I would say more closer to 60%. As I said, when I've done these box office numbers, these breakdowns, I did a lot of research, and based on most industry standards, 60% tends to be the number that they give, even when you have certain numbers coming out of China. That's enough to cover the production budget, although I hear there were enough tax incentives and other rebates to actually shave a few additional $1 million off the final shooting budget. That might be why, from certain people, maybe from the actual studio execs, they were giving that $400 million number as being the break-even point. Because if they were able to shave off a lot of the budgetary stuff, then maybe, just maybe, they didn't need to make that extra $25 million or that extra $30 million at the box office that normally would have been their break-even point. So, who knows? That could be interesting, though. And I think at this point, it really does make clear that, at the very least, if you take that into account and you add just a few million to that, then let's assume that when you add all that together, it would be as if Alita made $410 million, meaning it only needs to make about $20 million left, and that, of course, is going to be made up easily in the DVD Blu-ray sales. When it hits the home entertainment market and television, Alita should cover its marketing costs as well. For comparison, Solo: A Star Wars Story, and here's where you see the spin, which took $393 million at the worldwide box office, grossed an estimated $100+ million in the domestic DVD, Blu-ray, digital HD sales and rentals, and that's without including worldwide home sales and rentals. Please give me your source. Notice how he does not source anything there. $100 million? I mean, I assume that it made millions, because I knew that some people would probably buy that, but $100 million plus? Do you have the receipts on that? Please. If you do, send it my way. I would love to actually, dive down those numbers. But also, what you're failing to remember is that it lost $200 million at the box office, so even if that $100 million is close, Solo is still in the red. Notice how we have a very different scenario here with Alita Battle Angel, because you not only have a very passionate, much more passionate fan base than Solo. If you're going to try and tell me that Alita doesn't have a chance to, if this $100 million is indeed true, to at least match that, oh man, that's going to be interesting, because, I'm sorry, no one went to go see it, no one wanted to go see Solo, and a lot of people still did not buy Blu-rays and DVDs. Solo was not one of the highest grossing, highest selling DVDs and Blu-rays of that year. So let's just go ahead and be honest with ourselves for a second. But $100 million, okay, whatever it is you say. Solo and Alita have both received an A- grades from the audience cinema score. Oh, the cinema score. Even though we know that most audiences really did like and love Alita and Solo, Solo got the kind of the Captain Marvel treatment where it was like, oh my gosh, it got an A cinema score, an A- cinema score, but most people and a lot of people didn't really like it overall, and let's just mixed positive. I love this word. And both received mixed positive reviews from critics, and whenever you see that, that means that the shills have come out to play, because that's the only time that they do that. That's the only time. When you have these mixed positive reviews where they give basically a critical review and overall don't like a movie, and maybe give it a 50%, like a 2 out of 4, 2.5 out of 5, but then hit that fresh button. But then for movies like Alita, when they do the same thing, or are even more critical because they don't have to worry about, getting any of that, Disney money. I'm not saying that Disney's paying them off. What I'm saying is that access is indeed a nice currency, and access is something that must indeed be paid for by these critics, and we've had them themselves admit this fact. Go ahead and check out the Sci-Fi Wire podcast, where one of them basically admits, a certified critic on Rotten Tomatoes, admits to playing softball with certain movies because he's got to keep that access. Got to keep that access because he's got to make sure he's able to, keep paying those bills. Let's, screw honesty, screw objectivity. Sometimes you got to fudge a score here and there because you got to make sure that you're able to bring in that moolah. But not actual moolah, access moolah. Other companies to sci-fi fiction and adventure releases with similar box office reactions include Star Trek Beyond, Terminator Genesis, Blade Runner 2049, Edge of Tomorrow, and Pacific Rim. Closest one there being Edge of Tomorrow because that is the closest as far as how much it costs to make. And also how much it actually made at the overall box office too. Edge of Tomorrow did very well. It sold over 1 million units, making around $30 million plus when it comes to at least, when it was being tracked in that way. And so I think that you see Alita could definitely do that. I think Alita is going to sell well over 1 million copies. And that's just the United States. Again, as far as the 30 million go for Edge of Tomorrow, that's not even including people buying it across the world. And I know just by the very fact that I have a huge audience from people of all across the world, in all different countries, who all love this film, had friends and family that love the film too, who are going to be buying this as soon as it is indeed available, who've seen it like 4, 5, 6, 7, 16 times sometimes in theaters. Yes, people love this movie. And so because of that passion, because of all that stuff, it's going to be great. Merchandising will be where any real profit margins come, though, and even there, it's likely to be modest at best. So there is indeed going to be some merchandising coming to play, at least according to him. But while there's a slim comfort in declaring break-even a victory, this is still undeniably a far better outcome than most people predicted or expected. That's right. Let's go back to those days when you said, it was going to be a huge flop, it wasn't going to make any money, and then all of a sudden, people saw it, people loved it, and they realized, while they're attacking this film and saying this film's going to flop, they're already going into protection mode for Captain Marvel and letting Captain Marvel control the news cycle, but we like this movie and this movie's really good. Did so much more, so much better than it would actually do. I said I thought they would make probably about 350 million plus or minus, and that anything north of 400 million could fairly consider dodging a bullet. In light of the negative media coverage and apparent audience ambivalence towards the release, well, consider the bullet dodged then. Notice how he is at least being fair there. Notice how he puts a little bit of that nugget of truth. He says, in light of the negative media coverage. Oh, you're right. There was so much negative media coverage for this film. And why? Because it had a strong female character that did not match up to their SJW politics. That's the reason why. Because there was a strong character in general that did not acknowledge, oh my gosh, I'm a female. Did y'all see that I'm a female? Captain Marvel, oh my gosh, did you see I'm a female? Did you notice I'm a hero? Notice how when a movie does like that, when you have Brie Larson coming out nonstop, they're like, oh yes, look, oh man, white man, and all these other things. Let's protect that. We need to protect that because that's the image of women that we want to protect when it comes to, when it comes to Alita Battle Angel, when it comes to Rosa Salazar, who is whooping ass, in her training and everything like that. Oh no, didn't even get covered. I only saw her training because it got, put into a video comparing the training for Captain Marvel versus Alita Battle Angel. That's how much they buried this film. That's how much they did not focus on it because they would much have rather have focused on Captain Marvel because they knew if they did it, they protected it, they did their job, well then they would be able to get that first access to all the interviews, all of the pre-screenings, and they would be protected for the future to come so that they could crap on all other movies that come out that are nearly not as big or not as wide released. That's the reason why they were able to crap all over Dumbo, for example, because there was no agenda with Dumbo. It was just a remake for them to try and make money. Seriously, the only agenda there was the fact that they wanted to remake a classic film just so that they can make more money because they are running out of ideas. All the while they go after this film, Alita Battle Angel, which is a really great concept, beautifully done, well acted, but yeah, you're right. Negative media coverage is about right. And apparent audience ambivalence. Yes, maybe in the North American audience, but those who did see North America loved it with a passion, and worldwide, did so much better than any of you could thought. There's no denying Fox had higher hopes for Alita Battle Angel, and it was a passion project for producer James Cameron, so they are surely disappointed it hasn't launched a successful blockbuster franchise yet. I say, because while most consider a sequel unlikely at this point, Disney's purchase of 20th Century Fox and their excitement over securing a partnership with James Cameron for its Avatar series, plus Disney's desire to more IP to exploit via theatrical and streaming productions, means we surely haven't seen the last of the property. Let's see. I can imagine Disney convincing Cameron to produce a streaming series to continue the Alita franchise on Disney Plus as either a live action or animated series. I pray to God that is not the case. Dear Lord, I hope that this person from Forbes is not trying to put ideas into Disney's head, because at Disney, I'm telling you this right now, if you try and get Alita Battle Angel to be a series on your Disney Plus streaming network and you don't give it the theatrical release that the sequel deserves with the money that it deserves to make it look as great as it did on theaters, you're going to be robbing fans. We've already shown you, and he's already shown you, that this film is indeed going to make money. By the end of it all, it's going to be well into the black, not just breaking even, but also profitable as well. You put out a sequel and you market that correctly, you put out a sequel and you actually push for it correctly, and you give it the same type of media protection and coverage that you gave to other crappier films, trust me, it's going to do better. It's going to have a better success at the box office. I'm telling you this right now. So the same things that you like to do with all your little friends in Hollywood and all your little friend critics that like to be protective of all these different properties that because of their SJWism, how about instead you actually have them be honest about films for once? And if they were honest about Alita Battle Angel, they would say, oh, this is a really solidly made film. No, it's not perfect. Every film has flaws, but you know what? It's okay. It's worth seeing. It's worth seeing on the big screen. But no, they didn't do that because of that negative press coverage, as he himself already admitted. But anyway, guys, what are y'all's thoughts about this? Do you think that Alita Battle Angel should go to Disney Plus? I hope not. Good God, I hope not. The fact that they drop an F-bomb makes me think that they wouldn't put it on there in the first place. You know, remember that Disney owns part of Hulu. You know, Disney now owns 60% of Hulu. I think that if it's going to go anywhere, it would more likely go there. Personally, I would rather go there because then at the very least, I don't have to buy another freaking streaming service just to support and watch Alita Battle Angel. But please, God, James Cameron, and I'm going to try and tweet this at you today, please do not play by Disney's game. Please. Listen to the fans. The fans loved what you did with Alita Battle Angel. We want a sequel. We want more. Don't listen to these idiots over at Forbes like Mark Hughes. Don't listen to those asshats in corporate for Disney who are trying to push these identity politics driven narratives. Because if you let that happen, you will destroy a potential awesome franchise. Not just profitable, but good. Why does it always... Again, I understand we live in a world where it's about money, but why can't we just make a great franchise? That makes enough. That makes enough. Yeah, it might not break records. Yeah, it might not be the next Endgame, which broke the internet this morning. But you know what? At least it could be a good, solid series. That makes enough. That's what we want. That's all we want. Think about it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please reach out to James Cameron. Please reach out to anyone associated with this film and let them know we love it. We cannot wait, and we really want to know when it's coming out on Blu-ray DVD, so that way we can pre-order it. But also let them know that we really want this series to continue, and we want it to continue the way it should on the big screen. This movie is not going to translate nearly as well on a smaller screen. I'm just going to say this right now. Being able to experience it in a Dolby theater with the sound and the image and the 3D technology that they were able to get into that film, it's not going to be able to translate on a smaller screen. It's just not. So do not let them take control of this. Do not listen to people over here who are trying to say, oh, Disney Plus, they might try and, put it into a series. No, this film deserves more. This film deserves a sequel a hell of a lot more than Captain Marvel does, because at the end of the day, this is a much better film. From an objective standpoint, easily a better film than anything that Captain Marvel could ever hope to have achieved. Because Alita Battle Angel is not just a strong female character. She's a strong character, a great character, in a great story with a great world. Let that be our focus. Why can't we just talk about that? Why can't we just focus on good movies with good stories? Why are you obsessed with pushing identity politics in films, in mediocre, crap films that get way too much praise and way too much protection, just so that you can make money, just so that you can make profit, when you instead abandon films like this to continue to make reboots and remakes and agenda-driven films? Just try it. If you actually put your money behind this project, if you actually put your money and you actually put your support behind this film, it would have done well. And that's going out to Fox. That's going out to the studio that really could have done more for marketing for this film. But Disney, you have obviously the distribution rights to this project. You obviously are going to be working very close in hand, I imagine, with James Cameron. Please, don't screw it up, because you have a potentially awesome franchise in the making. And that's just from a fan. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, smash that like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. And as always, God bless.